Hey Nikita, how do you feel about everyone who watches the On the Sideline podcast and is Team Kyle instead of Team Jackson?
Number one bullshit. Oh, number one bullshit.
The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup. You can see my dog yawning in the background. I figured I'll leave her in the frame for this, video. It's a different one. Obviously, many of you here that watch are, just football fans because this is mostly a football channel, but I will always talk about other sports. And hey, my team just won a championship for the second time, or I guess, Tampa Bay's with 3 championships in 283 days. Yes, that's right. 283. 28-3 memes just will not die. Incredible. We get Tom Brady and continue to find ways to torture the Atlanta Falcons, even when it's not football. This is incredible. And listen, I know the Lightning aren't exactly everyone's favorite team right now. I get it. Part of that is success. Part of that is some other stuff, which we can get into in a second. But this is just an awesome feeling to not just win one, but to win 2. When you think about all the stuff the Lightning have been through over the years. I remember in 2011 when we lost in 7 to the Boston Bruins. I remember that whole run, and it was such a magical run that just fell short. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Montreal Canadiens run that they just went on. They went a little bit further, but still, it was a similar type thing where no one really expected them to win it all, and they came close. The Tampa Bay Lightning did eventually fall short in 7 to Boston, who won the cup. And that was kind of I think it wasn't when I first got into hockey. I was a hockey fan before, but that was what really made me realize, oh, wow, these playoffs are awesome. And it is true. I'm a believer in there's no better playoffs than the NHL playoffs. That's just how I feel. And so, it was disappointing, but it was a great season. And then things didn't really go too well after, but eventually we get over the hump. Actually, interestingly enough, my first playoff game I went to was against the Montreal Canadiens. That was game 1 in 2014 when we lost in overtime. So that was kind of I believe it was game 1. Could have been game 2, but regardless, we lose in overtime, end up getting swept. That was very disappointing, but we knew we had a good team, and we did. In 2015, we made it to the Cup final. We're up 2-1 in that final, but fall short. But that's okay. It was a great season. We come back in 2016. We maybe would have had a chance to win it if Ben Bishop was healthy. He was hurt for the second straight year. A young Andre Vasilevsky still played well, but we lose to Pittsburgh in 7, a team that would go on to win the Stanley Cup. Then in 2018, we missed the playoffs in 2017 just because of injuries. In 2018, we then go on and we play the Washington Capitals. We're up 3-2 in the conference final. So a win away from back to the Stanley Cup final. And, at this point, we're done with moral victories. There is no, hey, at least it was a good season. You got to find a way to win one of these next 2 games. They didn't even score in either of those 2 games. And that was really frustrating, I think. And I think, I felt this way, and a lot of Lightning fans felt this way. We kind of felt like, you know what? Maybe it's time to not watch as many regular season games. Maybe it's time to not get too invested in this team because they always choke. They just keep screwing things up. And I sort of promised myself I'm not going to get too emotionally invested again. I'll still watch. I'm a fan, but I'm not going to let it affect my mental health the way sports sometimes can if you don't have a great relationship with it. However, 2019 happens, and how can you not get sucked in? I mean, this team is the Harlem Globetrotters on ice. The Lightning were incredible. They were breaking records. They tied a record for most wins in a single season. A little bit of an asterisk next to it because they had help with the shootout, which there used to be ties. Now there's the shootout. Makes it a little easier, but still a very impressive feat nonetheless. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, everyone thought we're going to win the Stanley Cup. And so, of course, you know what happens. Columbus comes in. They sweep us out of the first round. It's, complete embarrassment. And I think everyone at that point said, how do you not fire John Cooper? How do you not blow everything up, try to figure something else out? And, I mean, it's a fair thing to say at the time. I know now it looks really stupid, but at the time, there was some real logic behind that line of thinking. I mean, it was the biggest collapse after we've already had 3 or 4 collapses in recent memory. And now we had the biggest collapse in hockey history, maybe in sports history. That's devastating. So the fact that we would then bounce back from that and not just win the cup once, but win the cup twice in under 300 days, by the way, that is just an awesome feeling. And it kind of makes you feel a little bit like I said this, and I think it's true, that the first cup run, the first time we won the cup, that was just a sense of relief. It was just a sense of, thank God we didn't blow it. We finally found a way to, win the Stanley Cup. This year was like the first year for me. I finally felt like maybe since 2011, or at least since, 2016, we had a deep cup run, and it was just fun. It wasn't we have to win the Stanley Cup or it's a bad season, because we already won it last year. If we lost to Florida in round one, we lose to Florida in round one. We have our cup. It is what it is. It was fun again. And so the fact that we now have two, that's just incredible. And, there were some wild series this time. The Florida series was crazy. Carolina series only ended in 5, but that one had a lot of great games in it. Of course, the Islanders series and even the Montreal series. Everyone's talking about, it was, a boring final. I kind of just think it was a lopsided final, but I'm not sure if that makes it boring. I mean, there were some really good games in there. They just, unfortunately for neutral fans, 4 of the 5 went one way, so it wasn't as interesting. And as for the cap circumvention that keeps getting brought up, is there an asterisk next to the cup? No, there isn't. I mean, unless you have a Houston Astros scandal, there's never an asterisk next to a championship, whether it's injuries, whether it's whatever. As long as you play within the rules, which they definitely did, there's no asterisk. I think that's simple. People say, well, it is a loophole. You exploited it. And I would argue, is there asterisk next to the Chicago Blackhawks Cup in 2015, or even one step further? If this means that, if the Canadiens deserved it this year, did we deserve it in 2015? We also tried to get rid of the loophole, and, no one else except for the Blues all agreed with us, even though we were the ones trying to get rid of it. And so we use it to our advantage. You can't really criticize us now because we tried to get rid of it. It also should be mentioned, while people say what we did was against the spirit of the rule, someone who has not said that is Gary Bettman. In fact, he said the opposite. He said we did nothing wrong and we did what we were supposed to do in that situation. Everything is fine. Everything was above the table. Kucherov was injured. They monitored it. They figured out that he was, definitely had surgery. They didn't fake that. So everything was above the table. And honestly, it's kind of a bit conspiracy theory laced, I feel like, a little bit. Again, there is some real criticisms, and like I said, I don't like the rule. I think they should get rid of the rule. I think that if you get hurt, then you just have to eat that salary, same way the NFL does it. But I don't know. I think it's getting blown up because it's the Lightning that did it, and because it's Kucherov who did it, or who is a big part of it, who is obviously not a very well-liked player to begin with, so that sort of adds some fuel to the fire. And it also should be mentioned that people keep saying they were $18 million over the cap. The Tampa Bay Lightning, the roster that they iced in the last 4 games of the Stanley Cup final was $3 million over the salary cap. So, again, it's over. It should be clogged up, but we are talking about them losing a 4th liner there. We're not talking about them losing Kucherov in those plays. So I think that's where some Lightning fans get frustrated about. I think the most we were ever over in the playoffs was about $7 million, which again, I mean, that's significant. Like, that does help us, and it is kind of a loophole, but those are what the rules are. And why wouldn't we take advantage of that if Kucherov is hurt and is going to come back in the playoffs? People say, well, how did he magically come back game 1? I don't think it was he magically was healthy game 1. I think he played when he wasn't fully healthy. And if you watch him, you would probably agree with that. And part of why I feel that way is, the fact that I don't think they would have kept him out for the past couple of weeks. My dog's shaking in the background. I don't think they would have kept him out intentionally for a couple of weeks, like some people are suggesting that they would have. And the reason why I don't think that is because he could have played a couple games before. Like, there was, Stamkos got hurt. So we had actually a little bit of added cap space at the end there. So he could have came on and played a little bit at the end there, but he, they didn't want him to do that. And I imagine this for health reasons, because it wasn't for cap reasons. They had the cap to do that. So again, it's frustrating. It's a dumb narrative. It's not a dumb narrative. It's a real criticism that the rules should be fixed, but it is frustrating that literally every single post about the Lightning has 18 million under it somewhere. So, it is what it is. I get it. I'd probably be annoyed at it if I was a Montreal fan. So that's just the reality of the situation. I also think Rhino is probably happy at this point that the Lightning are not playing anymore, because I won't be randomly screaming at my TV like I have been for the past, 2 months when the Lightning score or when someone else scores, and then I'm screaming curse words at the TV. But, I wanted to make a video. I know this is typically a football channel, but, hey, my team won the Stanley Cup. I'm going to celebrate, and I want to celebrate with you guys, right? So let me know what you thought about this. Do you agree with me on the cap situation? That could be a spicy debate in the comments below. What were your thoughts on this cup final as a whole? I thought it was a great playoffs, one of the best postseasons ever, followed up by a boring climax. If we're talking, simply in terms of like a neutral fan perspective, there was a lot of great games. The Islanders Lightning Game 7 1-0 victory. That's a wild game. Obviously, the Golden Knights Montreal series was just back and forth, overtime. It seemed like that was a wild series. So, let's not forget about the Leafs Montreal series. That one was crazy. On top of it, the Panthers Lightning series was crazy way back then. So the Oilers getting swept, that was a surprise. Really fun playoffs. Did kind of have a boring ending for every fan base but one, and I'm just glad I was that one. So yeah, very fun. Let me know who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup next year. That's a good question as well. Who do you think wins the Stanley Cup next year? Maybe we'll have that be a discussion, or say what you want. It helps the algorithm to leave a comment. So whatever you want to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.